Well, first of all, welcome everybody. Hope everyone's handling this social distancing and the quarantine quite well. Just want to just say thank you to Justin for kind of setting this up. This is a great idea. Allows us all to kind of stay fresh and talk some ball. So I'm gonna spend some time today and just talk about some of the drills I do, some of my philosophy, and then really developing running backs at the second level, what I call finishers, and really developing those finishers. Spend some time on that. Probably take a little bit over an hour, but if you have any questions at any point in time, feel free to chime in about anything or anything specific that you want to know. Just let me know. So without further ado, we'll kind of just get started here. Just share my screen. All right. Is that up there, Justin?
You're good.
All right. Here we go. All right, fellas. Kind of just starting off from the top. Kind of what I try to build with my guys. My philosophy and everything that I believe in is a family environment and everything that encompasses that. A brotherhood is something that I truly believe in, and I preach to my guys that the brotherhood is key, especially in the running back room, which I think is a unique position. A lot of times there's only one of them on the field at a time, but multiple of them usually play throughout a game. And I spend a lot of time in fostering that brotherhood, that family environment, really preaching to them that in order for us to be successful, that they really need to come together and play as one. Everybody wants to eat, as they all say. Everybody wants to have all the carries and all the touchdowns. But, at the end of the day, if we can push each other and are just as happy for the next guy when he's successful as we are for ourselves, I think we can really accomplish a lot of great things on the football field. And, I think that's really important that, if you just carry the ball 4 or 5 times in a row and you get it down to the 4-yard line, you might be gassed that you're selfless enough that you take yourself out, or you don't get angry when I bring a fresh back in or a bigger back in and whatnot. And I think that's really important. The kind of whole culture I kind of try to build that around is that first word there you see uncommon. It's a quote that I've seen around a couple of times. And the quote read, "When you do things in life in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world." So what I've been preaching to my guys since I got to JMU last spring is be uncommon. And essentially all that means is just be different. It's really easy to be the guy that wants to complain. It's really easy to be the guy that's just looking out for himself. It's really easy to do what everybody else is doing. I really want us to be different and really take a different approach and just be completely uncommon. And one thing I can proudly say is that my guys, I had 7 last year. I'm going to have 8 this coming year. But this past season, they were very, very, very selfless. There were games where there was 2, 3, 4 guys that played, and no matter who was in, everybody was cheering each other on. Everybody was excited for each other. They were coaching each other up. They were hoping that the other guy can go out there and eat. And it really became, that brotherhood where they truly, truly, truly cared about each other. And I think that makes a difference in how they prepare and how they practice and how they go about their way. And then really you could take that uncommon part and really, take it beyond football. In the classroom, be different. Don't be the guy who's sitting in the back of the classroom who's just, with his hood up, headphones in, not paying attention. Be the guys towards the front of the classroom. Pay attention. Take notes. Be different. Don't be like that guy as everybody else. That's really the easy way to do it. I'm asking these guys to do things that are, frankly speaking, uncommon. They're different, so be different, be uncommon, everything that you do. And then that last piece there, you see where it says eat. That's just kind of a little mantra we live by. It just stands for effort, attitude, toughness. And we want to be the most aggressive group in the country, the group that plays with the most effort, the toughest group in the country. Our big philosophy on offense at JMU is Coach Signetti wants to run the football. That's what he's known for. We run the ball probably 50 to 60 times a game, and we're not a triple option team. We live most of our time in 11 personnel, 12 personnel, mixing some 20, a little bit of 13 and whatnot. But we probably, run the ball about 70% of the time, 75% of the time. And with that being said, my guys know that, hey, obviously with the 5 guys up front, our success is going to come down to us and how well we do. So we have to be able to every single day show up to practice. We have to practice the hardest. We have to be the best. We have to set a standard, and we have to uphold that standard in everything that we do. And that's really just what that EAT part stands for. Have great effort in everything that you do. Have a great attitude with everything that you do, and have great toughness in everything that you do. And those are things that require zero talent, and it just allows them to just be extraordinary and be uncommon. Just a couple clips here I want to show you guys. Of just them just being different. I preach them a lot of, it's really easy to want to be sweet when the ball is in your hands. Justin, is the video showing?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. It's really easy to be demand when the ball is in your hands. And what are you doing when the ball is not in your hands? So if you see my running back right there was standing on about, and I pause it on the 35-yard line there, quarterback is getting ready to scramble. Okay, are you guys just watching the play? Or are you guys going to try to go out there and be different? Try to pick up a block for your guy, because I think those things are contagious. Your teammates see that when you're giving extraordinary effort for your other teammates, and I think that matriculates throughout. Here's another clip here in the playoffs against Weber State. We're just running a little fly sweeper to our receiver with the running back lead blocking, and I really want us to be able to set the tone, have a great attitude. Right, you went ahead and got yourself a piece right there the very first time. All right, but now it's not to be done, just to keep going and be aggressive, be a prick, get after them as much as you can. I think it's all a mind game, and I think the more that you can get after guys within the rules of the game, in between, snapping the whistle, I think the more you can get after guys, the more you get in their head. And I always tell my guys, if you can get into a guy's head, but now he's worried about where you're at instead of where the ball is going, because in the last play you went and got yourself a piece, I think that's going to be good. And I think that really holds true. And I've seen that show up kind of throughout. Excuse me. Moving on, philosophy. I spent a lot of time teaching, obviously. Obviously teaching the playbook and the ins and outs of that, the run game, pass protection, the passing game and all of that. But I spent a lot of time teaching system of defense. And what's really amazing to me is how little kids really know, even at the college level. I've had, when I came here, I had some juniors who knew very little about the basics of defense. And I think it's good for them to know, because I think it allows them to play faster. Now, granted, in the beginning of it, like last spring, for example, right, you're probably slowing them down initially because you're trying to teach them all of these things, how to recognize different fronts, how to recognize coverage structure, 1 high, 2 high, no high, how to recognize where the blitz is coming from based off where the safeties are rotating to, or based off certain keys, who is the free hitter. But what it eventually allows them to do is to play faster and to be able to anticipate what's happening rather than waiting for the ball to snap. And now you're trying to, on the fly, guess what's going on. So spent a lot of time on that, a lot of times, especially in the spring, what I was doing this spring in the off season. Really, we were just spending a lot of time. I had some clips. I'd get up there and I would just pause it, and I would have one of my guys, Percy, one of my running back, he would get up on the board and he would just start kind of talking through the defense. Hey, what's the coverage you think it is here? 1 high or 2 high? Okay, do you think it's man or zone? Is there anything giving it away? Great. What's the front? 4 down, 3 down? Okay. Is it 3 technique front side? Is he back side? Is there a blitz coming or whatnot? And it really just allows them to kind of just clear their minds and play free. Spent a lot of time on this, and I think it's really made a difference, especially in pass protection. We played 16 games this year, had over I think around 1,200 snaps as an offense. And, within pass protection, whether it was just 6-man drop back protection or play action protection, full 7-man play action protection, where we're also involved in the protection. I'm proud to say we only had 1 MA in pass pro all year. And I think a lot is a tribute to them just understanding what's going on with the defense. A couple goals here. Some things that we live by. and how I kind of grade the guys. We have our core values, things that are absolutely important to be able to play the position at James Madison. Obviously, ball security is an absolute must. Spend a lot of time teaching that and how to carry the ball, right? Obviously, making sure that the wrist is above your elbow, ball's against the body, and that ball should be right underneath your chin, nice, high and tight. Have to be 100% in pass protection, which means you have to know who to block and be able to get them blocked as well. And then the competitive excellence, to be able to compete at a level of excellence. All that simply is just being able to be on point with your assignments, understanding that through practice, you're not going to get every single rep physically that you need to be able to get yourself ready. However, you can get every mental rep that's possible. So preaching, mental reps is important. All of my guys stand right behind me during all of our team portions, and they're getting the same vantage point as the guy who's in during that rep so that they can get their mental rep, and they're going through the exact same process. And those are some of the things, again, of why I think you are able to limit those MAs in the game, because they're getting those mental reps. They're seeing it over and over again on the field, and then they're seeing it over and over again, obviously in the film room. And then they also will get some of the physical reps as well, and that allows them to be able to compete at a level of excellence. Couple goals here I have for my guys. Really simple. I don't have a ton of them. I want us as a unit to average 5 yards a carry. I want 4 explosive runs a game. Those are 12 yards or more. 1 momentum run a game, 20 yards or more, and then 50 yards after contact. And I think the good mark of a really good tailback is being able to get yards after contact, or be a guy who can have a lot of explosive plays. And I always kind of tell my guys, you either want to be 50 yards or better after contact, or you want to average over 6 yards a carry. And if you're doing both, then you're a pretty good stud, and really remarkable. So kind of the things that we kind of focus on. A couple of things I want to show you. I know there's a lot of numbers here on this screen. This is from 2017 when I was at Elon, the exact same staff, same O-line coach, same head coach. We saw everything that we did there philosophically on offense is the same as we do at James Madison. But there's a couple of things I want to show you and point you out to, because I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about it. When you're looking at where it says the explosive plays, okay? So my first year at Elon, after we finished the season, we had 2.9, just under 3 explosive per game. Our goal is 4, so we didn't reach that. We did want to have at least one momentum run a game. We did get that. However, after watching the film, I figured out, okay, we're leaving a lot of yards on the field. There's a lot of times throughout the game where we're getting the bare minimum. The O-line opens up a hole that's 5 yards long. As soon as we get to the free hitter, he's making a tackle. So I spent a lot of time developing a way to really help these guys improve their finishers at the second level and making the free guy miss. All my guys have aspirations to play in the NFL. I'm sure all of you guys have guys who have aspirations to play in the NFL or have aspirations to play at the collegiate level. And at the end of the day, the really, really good running backs are able to make one guy miss every single time. And the reality is there's always going to be one free hitter somewhere. If you make the first guy miss, you've done your job. So after doing a lot of this development now in the spring of 2018, fall camp of 2018, now here is the stats from 2018, and you see the numbers almost doubled. We went from 2.1 it was in 2017 to 4.4 in 2018. And then we went from, just 1 momentum run a game to 2.2 a game. And I think those numbers really show it because we just put such an emphasis on the finishers. Here are the numbers from this year. We were just at 4 explosive plays a game and 1.4 momentum runs a game, which is good. I still would like that number to be higher. I just watched all of the cut-ups throughout February. There's still a lot of runs where we left yards on the field. So the emphasis, again, going into year 2, again, will being able to work on those finishers. I'm going to spend a good amount of this time here towards the middle of this presentation, talking to you guys about what we kind of do there. Just a couple things real quick to consider. I played running back myself. I played at D3 school in Columbus, Ohio, called Capital University. We're in the Ohio Athletic Conference. That's the same conference as Mount Union College. I'm sure many of you have heard of them. Played running back in high school. My dad was a running back. He was a 4-time All-American. D3 running back, and it's in my blood. And one thing I know for a fact that bothered me at times is when guys are yelling at you about where the hole is and where you're going. And yes, there's going to be a lot of times where, or it's going to be certain times where the running back makes the wrong read, okay? But I think you have to be able to keep in mind of how you're presenting it and really not getting on their case. So a lot of things what I do often is I generally ask my guys, what did you see, or what was it that made you make that cut or that read? And I want them to be able to regurgitate the information back to me, be able to give me a good answer. And if the answer makes sense, then I live with it and I kind of move on. If the answer doesn't make sense, they kind of say, Coach, I'm out to just doing whatever, being renegade, then we have a conversation. And I think the reason for that is a lot of times I've done it myself as a coach, and I've had it happen to me when I was a player. I think it's really easy with our clicker to really hit slow-mo and just kind of say, look, the hole is right there. Meanwhile, my guys are saying, Coach, stuff's happening at 100 miles an hour. Sometimes I just thought I felt something, or I thought I saw the backer scrape over the top, which is why I took this hole right there. So instead of just yelling at them, doing the proverbial, where are you going? Why are you doing that? Ask them, what was it that you saw that made you do that? The next part about that psychological factor after a fumble, there's nothing I hate more when somebody says, you got to hold on to the ball, you can't fumble it. That's one of the most obvious statements that anybody can make, because obviously nobody wants to fumble the football. Now, if the guy is carrying the ball like a loaf of bread, like a complete idiot, yes, you're going to get on him. But if he's carrying the ball the right way, and the defense just made a great play, because those defenders get coached up really well as well as far as how to strip the ball, and the ball pops out, I think when that guy comes over, you have to really just put your hand around him, tell him it's all good, and move on and move past it. And I think the next piece of that is then being able to immediately put him back into the game the very next offensive possession. So I have two clips here I want to show you guys. Hopefully this is not too choppy. So this is the game here at Elon. My runner, Malcolm Summers, he ran for almost 300 yards in this game. Okay, had a good game. He's running the ball, makes the guy miss, does a great job. He's actually holding on to the ball pretty well. The ball comes out in a critical part of the game. Naturally, he's off the field. You're right. Everyone is angry. Everyone's mad. How could you let the ball fall down, whatnot? And we kind of just went to the side, told him it's all good. Don't worry about it. Very next offensive play, I send him back out there, give him the vote of confidence, say it's all good, you're going to make up for it. Again, this is the very next play after his fumble. And he's able to go walk out there and then create the momentum run, which gives us the momentum back after a defense has stopped him. Brings it all the way down, and we score the very next play. One more clip to show for you. This is from Ohio State. I spent 3 years as a grad assistant at Ohio State, was there when we won the national championship. This is the semifinal game, Sugar Bowl against Alabama. Okay, Ezekiel Elliott running the ball. He's carrying the ball pretty close too. There's a guy coming from his left side. He's trying to get a stiff arm on him, and the guy from the right does a good job of stripping the ball, right? A little bit loose with the ball, but not terrible. Trying to hold on to the ball as best as he can. The guy does a great job and strips it, okay? Obviously, big momentum play. I think this was like the second possession. Very next play. First possession after the fumble. Send him right back out. Give him the vote of confidence. Give him the football. Go out there. Play ball. We trust you. Okay? And then, again, this is a good attitude run right here. That's Lane and Collins filling down there. Okay? And just knock that guy backwards. Run him over. Right? Get you some vote of confidence back. Good to go. So it's a couple of things there. Moving on. All right. With our drills now. Everything has a purpose. There's a lot of great drills out there. Every drill has its own purpose, and I think it's important with today's age, with the kids that we have, is to explain to them why we're doing things, show them how the drill carries over, create drills based off game scenarios, and then, create drills tailored to improve their weaknesses, but also to enhance their strengths. And then, again, explain why the drill will help and how it carries over. I'm going to show you a couple of drills here that we do. These are inside zone specific drills. So on offense, we are a base inside zone team. That's the very first thing that we install. So I create, our day one drills are based off our inside zone drills. So we have the L drill here, where we're just working on simple jump cutting. Every single one of my drills, you're going to see a pop-up at the end of it. okay, where they were working on a finisher. And I always tell them this is in our first spring here, okay, working on our jump cuts, getting through there, and then there's something at the end, work a finisher. And a finisher is simply anything that you need to do the finisher run. It might be a juke, it might be a spin, it might be a stiff arm, it might be a step back, it might be a just run straight through the bag, whatever it might be, but you always want to be able to work on the finishers and have that at the end of every drill. Here's another way to kind of modify the L drill. What this is here is an L drill crease. So here we're working a backside jump cut in our inside zone. And if you can picture it, I always tell my guys, right, picture the inside zone being blocked at a 45-degree angle. When you make a backside jump cut, you always want to get back into the natural crease of the play and get vertical, because there's always going to be some kind of free hitter backside. So just simply working at that here. If you guys have a chute available, I always recommend doing all these drills underneath the chute. I was able to get one at JMU going into fall camp, and I use it for all of my drills. And it just kind of helps them stay low, running with great low pad level. And I think that really carries over and helps. Just to show you a couple game clips. Go to the end zone copy here. Here we're just running zone to the right. Okay, and you'll see the backside cut. Okay, and there's that natural crease of that play. There's that free hitter I'm talking about. Want to be able to get away from him, get into the crease of the play again. Nice backside cut, right back into the crease, and then just play ball from there. One more clip here, running zone to the right again. All right, there's that natural crease, backside cut, get right back into that crease, and then immediately get back vertical. So that's my L drill that we do. Another jump cut drill that I do, I just call it a wide cut, and this is just a little bit of a wider jump cut. I don't really have creative names for these. But again, just have them go through the bags, make a wide jump cut, get vertical, and then there's always a finishing bag at the end. It's really simple. It's just another way to work on some jump cutting that's very specific to our inside zone drills and what we do there. Here it is again, when the falling out under the chute. Going to make it hard. And a lot of times with just keeping it under the chute with a dust for them, it's kind of awkward because the chute is a little bit lower than what they actually probably would be running, but we're overemphasizing staying low. And like number 31 Percy here, he's the kid who ran for 1,200 yards. In the spring, he was a big waist bender. He had a hard time really sinking his hips. He would just kind of bend at his waist and he would lose power. And really as the year went on, he got much better at just being able to sink his hips and be able to get through that. So again, if you guys have a chute that you can use to do your drills under, I definitely recommend it. Let's skip forward here. All right, here's an A reaction drill. So in our inside zone, we are a play side A gap landmark, okay? And we are always reading the nose guard, no matter where he is. So if the shade's in the front side A gap, back side A gap, or if he's head up over the center, we're reading the nose guard. So here's a way where I can kind of incorporate a jump cut as well as a live read for them. So I'm simulating the nose guard underneath here, and they're just pressing up onto the back. Now the key, what I really want to emphasize in all of your run game, and I'm sure you guys heard this 1,000 times, it's nothing new, is we always want to talk about pressing the line of scrimmage, making all of our cuts off the heel of the lineman. So I want them to get as close to that lateral bag as possible. Even if their toes hit it, that's okay. So a lot of times in this drill, what ends up happening is they don't think I'm going to move, so then they want to slow down and kind of wait to see what happens instead of reacting. So just keep emphasizing in this drill, go forward downhill, don't wait for it to happen. You might have to slow down a little bit, okay, but you want to be able to react at a full speed. And again, the finishing drill component. Okay, here's another way to do. All I did is I just changed the angle of these bags right here. I just changed the angle of these bags right there. But it's, again, another way to do it with a live read. I'll show you one clip here and move on to the next drill. So there's big boy number 91. There's our read right there. We're running zone to the right from the pistol. Okay, it's a good job just being able to keep his eyes and read. Pretty easy read. But it's good patience there, letting it clear up. One more here. Here's your reading the backside A gap, running zone to the left, standing right there. It's a good job. Downhill, shoulders square, hitting it downhill. Great. All right, another drill here, do here, T drill. This is a footwork specific drill, still kind of working on the jump cut. But what we're working on here is being able to pick our feet up. And what I want to get out of this drill is I don't want them to hop over the back. I want them to step replace. So as one foot is hitting on the ground, you're essentially already going forward. Now this here, he's taking probably one too many steps more than I want. But I really want this to be a good, quick transition. Here, 42, Solomon, he's doing a really good job getting his feet in the ground, step replaced, and immediately going back vertical. So just simulating we're making a jump cut, and maybe a nose tackle fell through the hole or whatnot. We just have to be able to pick our feet up. And there's always some kind of finisher at the end. And when it gets to the finishers, you can dictate what you want to do with them, whether you're telling them, hey, today we're going to work on spin moves, or you can just say, hey, fill your toolbox. Whatever you feel you need to work on it, but really just make sure you're changing it up.
Coach, got a question for you.
Yeah.
From Coach Lowe. What are the running back steps out of pistol?
From the pistol, so if we're running same side zone, so if we're running zone right from the pistol, we're going down the right side because we have a way to do both. We're just simply taking an open 45 angle step and then putting our second step onto that front side A gap. If we're taking it from, if we're running traditional like zone read from the pistol, where the quarterback is opening up away from the direction of the play, we're still taking a downhill step. It's not as much as a 45-degree angle. It's more of a downhill step, so you can just get slightly off that midline, and then you take that second step and point it again right back up to your landmark, which is the play side A gap, and you're staying on that midline. Another way to do a T drill here, just a double again, just emphasizing being able to get their feet in the ground and picking them back up again and coming back. This is just a T drill double, just back and forth, a couple ways just to vary the drill up. So here, just a matter of just getting through here. Okay, just kind of, this is kind of what I'm trying to simulate at times, right? It's just that part right there where there's some ankles right there. How many, I'm sure all of us, many times we've seen running backs. I've had it happen with my guys this year as well, where they're just tripping over ankles right there. And these gains that could be a 10-yard, 12-yard, 20-yard gain turns into a, oh man, I tripped and I almost got it. You know what I mean? So just kind of trying to make those drills emphasize and show up right there. See one more of that from Elon. Okay, running zone to the right. And again, just being able to pick our feet up and just having good footwork, not hopping, just being able to do a good job with our feet, step replacing, so that we can get our feet through there.
Coach, here's another question from Coach Carruthers.
Yeah.
As a running back, is there any pre-snap reads before a snap I can look at?
Yeah, good question. So in the run game, what I spend a lot of time talking about is recognizing the front. So especially in a 4-down configuration, okay, I always want them to know, is it 3 technique, front side, or is he backside? And the reason being for that is, so what we call, when I have the 3 technique to the front side of the play, we call that a black side, okay? And if the 3 technique is backside of it, we call it white side, so black and white side, okay? And what my guys understand is a black side defense, when the 3 technique is to the front side of the play, that's called leverage defense. The defense already by alignment has leverage on the offense. So for example, when we're running our outside zone, for instance, we're running a 2-way black side, they know that this ball is most likely going to cut back. As long as, assuming that there's no line games or whatnot, we're just assuming that those guys are just going to be in their gaps. That 3 technique is going to be in his B gap. That 5 technique is going to be in his C gap. They're going to be up the field. That ball is probably cutting back. If it's a white side where now you have the shade front side and the 5 technique, they know that, okay, this thing might go into this front side B gap or might cut back. It just helps them to kind of anticipate it. You can do the same thing. Same thing holds true in inside zone. They know it's probably not going to go there. You know, and then when we run our gap schemes and our powers, we talk about for our read and power, which is, and I'll talk about that more here. I have some gap scheme drills that we do. We talk about our read is, if the A gap is open, take it. If it's not open, stay on the inside hip of the puller. If you have a black side, and you have a 3 technique and a 5, the A gap naturally is already open. So as you're coming downhill, if you get a good deuce block and that A gap stays open, take it. It's going to be open. If you have a white side, there's already a guy standing in the A gap. It's probably not going to be open. Still want to press downhill and then get on the inside hip of the puller. If we're playing a 3 down front, you just want to know where the nose is, have an idea. Obviously, if you're playing a 3 down front with 4 eyes, you treat that as a black side defense. And then if you have just a straight 5 down bear front, you want to be aware of that as well. So in the run game, they spend a lot of time looking at the front and understanding how it would help their read. And then the next part of that, they always want to know if it's 1 high or 2 high. All right. All right, so one more drill here. I want to show you just another finisher. These are just our simple indie drills that we do. Here we're just working on breaking down angles. Okay, so you can do this part here with the cones where I'm standing. You can do this at the end of whatever drill you want. Okay, but all we're trying to do here is come through these cones. I'm the defender, and you're telling these guys you want to break his angle down, almost exactly turn your shoulders 90 degrees, and then get around that cone and then get back vertical so that you can get that defender on the backside of your hip. It's something that happens naturally in running, but I think it's something that, again, can be developed or can be enhanced and improved. So I throw this drill in there a couple of times, once a week, maybe twice a week. In camp, we probably do a bit more. We're just really working on turning your shoulders and killing the defender's angle so that you can get around it. Show you one look of it here. Okay, so here's your free hitter showing up right there. Does a good job of breaking his angle down. Your shoulders are turned to the sideline. Get him on the backside of your hip. It's a harder tackle for the defender to make. And again, a lot of stuff is just stuff that just shows up naturally, but I think it's always finished. You can just throw at the end of your drills. Again, here, coming up to your man, okay? Instead of just trying to shake him, you could, okay? But you got a lot of space over here on this side. Try to kill his angle and then get immediately back up the field. That's all we're trying to do. And now you've turned what would have been maybe a 10-yard run into an explosive or momentum play. All right, moving on. Now, in our skate drill, this is specific to gap scheme. I'm a big believer in not jump cutting in gap schemes. We jump cut in zone schemes. In gap schemes, when we run power counter, which we run a good amount of, we use a skate technique. So just picture running back on the skateboard, keeping your shoulders square, and it's just skating side to side, trying to find the opening while staying on the inside hip of the puller. A lot of times, and if you jump cut in gap schemes, there's times you can out jump where the hole actually is the opening. So in our gap schemes, we want to use a skate technique so you can have good patience with it and really just find the opening. Once you find it, being able to stick that foot in the ground and getting vertical. There's a variety of different ways you can do this drill, all kinds of different modifications on it. There's been times where I've done stuff that I didn't like at all. Sometimes we experiment and it doesn't work out too well. Here's another way. Just added a couple backs at the beginning of it. There's the skate technique. Okay, you just want to have good pace, keeping your shoulders square, finding that opening. Here's another way to do it, just under the chute, just shorten it up. That's a good job on the skate technique right there. And then what I did at the end there, I threw in a little run-through finisher where I'm standing there with a pop-up, my manager has a pop-up, and we're just getting them to be able to accelerate forward, running through contact. Okay, here's another one where I just added a step over component for them after the skate. They just have to pick their feet up. Okay, same thing here. Again, you see them just picking their feet up, just added now 2 step overs to it, just picking their feet up in the skate technique. And then the last piece of that drill is now where I've added a second level component to it. Still telling them to skate, okay? And now I've created these angles where the puller is right here, Okay, I'm the defender, and they're going to fit based off of me. They're going to hit the whole base of where I go. All right, show you a couple clips of it. Go to the end zone here. So in our gap schemes and our power, again, we are an A gap landmark team. We are reading the front side A gap. If the A gap is open, take it. If it's not, you want to use a skate technique and stay on the inside hip of your puller. The one thing I teach them as far as reading a pull block is to expect force and react to spill. By doing that, it requires them to stay on the inside hip. They're going to expect it to be a force. If it turns into a spill or a log late, they can always react to that late. I think it's much easier to react late going outside than it is to react late coming back on the inside. So skate, stay on the inside hip of that puller, expect force, react to spill. Okay, and we're running it here to a white side, so we know the A gap's already going to be closed. Okay, there's a good job of staying on the inside hip of the puller, skate technique, find the opening, be able to get that foot in the ground, go vertical. Here's one more. Right, same side power here. And our footwork and our power is just a skip shuffle. That's all I call that, just a simple skip shuffle. Downhill, skate, stand on the inside hip of that puller, expect force, react to spill. Playing ball from there. All right, so those are some of the main drills that I do for everything else. I want to skip forward here to some play polish stuff. So play polish is kind of what I spend a lot of time on. This is my favorite part of practice. And all this is just run time up with the quarterbacks. We call it play polish. In my past jobs, I've called it backfield action, run time up, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure we all do it. But what I've started to do during this is, instead of just lining up on air and working on our inside zone footwork, is I've created first level reads for them and the second level component for them as well. And the second level component, obviously, we're working a lot on our finishers. So a couple of the first level things that we do, and you're always going to see me with my little butter stick here, that little blue bag. That's my baby. Here we're just working power, and here we're just simply working force reads. So I'm telling them, hey, A gap's closed. Okay, I'm the guy with the butter stick, and just giving them a live read. And then they always have to finish with something. Even in this case right here, because I don't always drag the pop out during this period. But I always tell them, even if there's no pop up there, or if there's not a manager or coach standing at the end, always finish with a move, even if it's just on air. Visualize it. Visualize that defender standing there, that safety, that free hitter, whoever, and make a move on air every single time. Excuse me. Single time at E-line, again, just working power, okay, just working force reads. Something simple. Even at this level, I think it's something that can still be worked on. And again, the stuff shows up in the game for you. Show you one clip here. Here we're running actually counter. His read is the same in counter. It's inside out, A gap open, take it. If it's not, skate, stay on the inside hip. The only difference is in counter, he's staying on the inside hip of the second puller. Okay, so the second puller here is 79 or left tackle. It's a good job staying on the inside hip. Expect force, react to spill. There's the opening, play ball. Okay, and we can do the same thing with spill reads. They were running power, across power is power to the right, and just giving them a spill read. It's a good job of skating, staying on the inside hip of that puller, expect force, react to spill. Didn't get any, actually, this is crazy. The entire season, in 16 games, we didn't get a single spill read all year. It's the wildest thing. I've never gone through a year where I didn't get a single spill read in one season this year at JMU. It's a good job here, 28, staying on the inside hip of that puller, expect force, react to spill. It's a great job, get vertical, play ball. Sorry, the video, as soon as old film takes a minute to load. Here's one on the goal line. Run some under center power. All right, there's his puller right in front of him. It's a good job staying on his inside hip. Skating, expect to force, react to spill. There's your spill read. Really easy. Okay, and do the same thing, some first level stuff with some outside zone reads. And our outside zone will read the end man line of scrimmage. So the red back here, the butter stick is the tackle. I'm the defender. I'm just giving them all the different reads. And you can make that read as drastic as you can. There's times where I'm even where I've been to 3 technique. I tell them, hey, we're running into a black side, and I run right up the field where that cut kind of happens much faster. And then again, always a finisher at the end. Always finish with something. For those of you guys that runs a pin and pull, we ran a good amount of pin and pull this year as well. When we run our pin and pull, how I teach to read with our 2 pullers is to see the establishing block, which is the first puller, and then to find the second puller. So I'm right here. I'm simulating the establishing block, which in this case is a kick out. Okay, and their eyes immediately should go find the second puller. Okay, and then obviously go and read his block. So kind of show you a game clip here because it'll be a little bit cleaner. Okay, so we go 69, left guard. He's our establishing block. That's who he has his eyes on. There's the establishing block. Great job. See it, find the second puller. And then once you find that second puller, still stay on his inside hip as well. And as you guys can see there, would have probably liked for him just to go straight vertical there. One more clip of it. Same thing. Here's your first puller. First puller in this case ends up getting a spill read on number 30 right there. So find the establishing block. Establish block's a spill read. Find the second puller. Stay on his inside hip. It's a nice job. Nice job by the center there of finding an extra guy. And we're through. Now moving on to the second level stuff. Really working on the make you miss stuff. So again, it all comes down to your ability to be able to make the extra guy miss. Okay, I don't want almost running backs. I tell my guys all the time, don't be an almost running back. All that simply means is don't be the guy who almost broke the play, who almost scored a touchdown, who almost had an explosive play. Don't be that guy. Don't be an almost running back. Okay, and I think there's a lot of guys who naturally have this, and you can enhance their strengths. And I think there's guys who don't have this, and you can improve these. So at the second level, whatever run scheme that we're working on footwork-wise that day, I'll tell them what the first level read is pre-snap because we're really working on the second level portion here. And all it simply is just working on making a miss, and I simply tell them, you react based off of me. I will come at them from all different angles with that bag, sometimes from the side, sometimes straight on. You just simply react and make the guy miss. And I always tell them in this period here, because you're not going to get this rep again. In this case here, our offensive coordinator in the white is giving the quarterback a pull read. Okay, so my running back knows I don't have the ball, but I still need to get my rep in. I always tell them, even if you don't have the ball during this drill, still get your rep in because it's going to count all the same. Okay, so just working on just being able to make guys miss. One clip here. This is during the regular season, critical game, fourth quarter. We were down the entire game, just finally took the lead. They still had a little bit of momentum. Had this young freshman tailback in here from Maryland. Came in the game. He's going to have a one-on-one matchup with number 43. And again, it's all about being able to make the free guy miss. And I think, when you practice these things, they should be able to show up in the game. And it's just as simple as that, right? Instead of maybe a 3-yard game, maybe he runs that guy over and whatnot, gets 3 yards, he makes a miss, and now it turns into a 69-yard touchdown. I think those are the things that you want your guys to be able to see as well, and how those things make a difference. Okay, here we're just doing it off outside zone. I'm just changing up the angle and how I'm coming at them. I don't have my butter stick this time. Generally do. But just change the angle, just tell them, hey, I'm giving you your first level read. You're just attacking me and just working on making a guy miss. Okay, go to end zone copy here again. Okay, go. There's your one-on-one matchup with number 21. Got to be able to make that guy miss. Almost running backs will get tackled right there. Good ones or should be able to make that guy miss. Makes a difference. And again, just me creating different angles for them of how defenders are going to be attacking them will show up in the game as well. It's not always going to be head on. One more right here. Here's number 6 coming at him. It's a nice job cutting back against the grain. Okay, this particular day we're working on spin moves. And again, this day I told them we're working on spin moves. I wanted them all to work on the spin move. And again, you can change, you can tell them react, or you can tell them we're working on this specific move today. So here we're working on our power footwork here. There's a decent job on the skate. Gets vertical. There's a safety screaming down the alley. Spin move. Oh, excuse me. Okay, we're running off counter. Again, just shows up in the game. Those finishers can make the difference. All right, now cut tackles. Some of the hardest ones to kind of simulate, you know, where that safety is screaming downhill, diving at your legs or your knees, at your thighs or whatnot, or maybe there's that corner screaming in, or, you know, a chasing backer from the backside, whatever. So, and this is kind of where I started using my butter stick, you know, 3 years ago, where it came in hand. And I would take this butter stick and I would throw it at their legs at all kinds of angles, sometimes straight on, sometimes from the side, sometimes I'm throwing it at their feet, sometimes I throw it at their knees, and their job was to simply react. Now, the first question that my guys at JMU asked me when we first started doing this is, Coach, is it okay if I hurdle? I said, I don't really care. And I don't really care if you're going to hurdle or not. Simply, if you're going to hurdle, just make sure you land it, all right? But I just want you to simply just react. Whatever natural reaction you have to this drill is what I want you to do. It might be a spin. It might just be simply picking your feet up. It might be a lateral step. It might be a hurdle. Whatever it might be, just simply react. Or just run full speed at the defender because you don't know if he's going to cut tackle you. Run full speed at the guy and just simply react.
Coach, we got a question here.
Yeah.
Do you ever tell your backs to set up the block, or is it always react?
Oh, I certainly think you can have time to set up the block, no doubt. But I think I try to take the part, for example, and what I talk about in the gap schemes of expecting force, racking the spill. I've had really good ones like number 28 from Elon. He was really good at setting that block up, where by rule that defender is probably supposed to force it, okay, but he does 28 did a good job of kind of dipping and slipping it, of getting that guy to fall inside the block and then end up going on the outside of it. So I definitely think or definitely believe that they can certainly set blocks up as well. I don't want to turn them into robots. I'm just giving them simple tools. And I actually think it brings up a good point that I do want to make. Not turning them into robots. There are certain guys, like number 31 Percy, he's our starter, but he's very, very, very literal. So what I tell him might not be the same what I tell Solomon, who was kind of just a natural football player who can kind of put his own artistic style on things. So for certain guys, I can kind of talk about, hey, if you think you can set that block up and maybe, you know, dipping inside and going back out, by all means do so. With Percy, on the other hand, I kind of tell him only what he needs to know. I just want him to play and react.
Another question for you, Coach.
Yep.
Do you marry footwork and alignment, or does it change based on the play?
The footwork is more married to the actual play. The alignment is the same. So our base alignment in the gun is my toes are a yard from the quarterback's heels, and my crotch is splitting the outside leg of the guard. That's our gun alignment for everything, whether it's a run or a pass. Now the footwork will change based off the play. Inside zone footwork is a drop step. Our power footwork is power in our our power footwork is a skip shuffle. Counter footwork, you're jabbing and opening up. From the pistol, we are 2.5 yards behind the quarterback, and then the footwork again marries up more to the scheme. I try to hide things with alignment, try to keep the alignment the exact same. I did have one year at Elon where the alignment was based off the play, and I thought that was a little bit too much of a telltale for defenses. So I spent a lot of time the last 2 years just having one base alignment, but just marrying up footwork to help with the timing of the run play. Just a couple more here, just working some inside zone here, backside cut. And again, just working on, just throwing at them like all kinds of different angles. Here we get into the game. Running our pin and pull here, actually, to the left. Okay, there comes a guy with the cut tackle, diving at your legs. A lot of times you have your almost running backs right there, just fall and trip and, plays over. Instead here, does a nice job getting his feet up, kind of, I was simulated with the cut bag or the butter stick, so many of those cut tackles. And now instead of a 4-yard gain, it turns into a momentum run. Another one here, inside zone. Right, not really that first one, but the second one coming up right there. Okay, where he kind of gets at him. He kind of knocks him off balance a little bit, but it's not the guy. It's not 42 or 48 who brings him down. It's the guy pursuing that brings him down. I always say, hey, you can make one guy miss, you've done your job. And it's a good job there. He made the first guy miss, second guy came pursuit and then brought him down. It's all right. Another thing we do here is a stiff arm. And I actually had this show up in the game who gave me the idea for this drill. So here we're working on the backside defender on like our inside zone, for example. I'm making this backside cut. There's that free guy. He's kind of tight to me. Even if I crease it, he's probably still going to be able to get hands on me and make the tackle. So we're just working on, this is my butter stick. I'm just shooting the bag at them and just working on it, just sticking that hand out and just working on getting a good stiff arm on it. Same thing here, right? So I'm coming from a little bit further distance, but it's good job, nice timing with the stiff arm. I don't give them an actual location of where they aim per se, because it could vary. Sometimes it could be on the shoulder or on the helmet. I do tell them that they have to aim somewhat high. Just aim somewhere around their chest plate or higher. That way you'll be able to make contact. You don't want to do it too early. If your hand is out there waiting for him to come, it's too early. And obviously, if you can do like just kind of put your elbow out like this, and if he's close enough to you like that and you throw the stiff arm, you're going to be too late. It's just a matter of timing. Some can do it really well, some can't. But I think in a matter of just kind of shooting this bag at them really helps the ones who aren't very good at it get good at it. And it helps the ones who are already good at it get even better at it. We're having a game against Weber State in the playoffs. Going to see number 7 here on the right side. Fall back in. Okay, there's a good stiff arm there on the timing with the stiff arm. Hit it slow. It does just enough on the timing to get just a piece where now he's able to get some extra yards and after the fact. And that first guy isn't able to make the tackle. Now, listen, I know I'm talking about making guys miss and spinning move and all that. There's going to be times where you have nowhere to go but straight through a guy. And just simply tell a guy, look, if you got nowhere to go but through him, go through him. At the end of the day, right, you want to be able to at least fall forward. So if you don't have enough room to make a spin or to juke the guy or whatever, if there's nowhere else to go but forward, accelerate your feet, run through contact, and run his ass over and get him, push him backwards. And at least set the tone and establish yourself as you're not going to be the guy who's getting knocked backwards. One more clip here of the stiff arm. You'll see he'll get a stiff arm right here on number 5, right off the backside edge. Good timing of it again. It's a good stiff arm. Okay, makes a difference. Is able to get some extra yards. Now the next piece of that is what happens when the ball is in that same arm. And I used to be a big proponent, and the ball has to be in this arm or that arm. And I said it doesn't matter, because what my guys have actually taught me is that, coach, sometimes based on how I take the handoff, it just kind of ends up in this arm. And I didn't want them to start to be the guy who's thinking about it has to be in this right arm or this left arm. So I said, look, just get the mesh, secure it, snap it in place. Now, once you get out into the open field, right, maybe you broke your long run, you made a guy miss, you're into that third level now. Now try to get in your outside hand so you can have that hand free. But until you get to that third level, do not switch the ball. Whatever hand it's in, it stays in that hand. So this is the same stiff arm drill now, where, right, and they're just reacting based off they get the ball in a certain hand. So in this case here, the ball ends up in his right hand. All it's going to turn into now is for him just to run through that arm tackle or that tackle or not. And all he wants to do is just slightly turn the ball away from the defender, protecting it and giving him the backside of his shoulder. So it's a harder tackle to make for that defender. Okay, here it is in the game. Show it from the end zone. Okay, so here we go, just running our inside zone cross. All right, you're going to see 55 right there, fall back in place. Okay, the ball is in his right hand. He doesn't really have a chance to do a stiff arm. So just simply, he's not really doing a good job of turning his shoulders like I would like him to, but at least he's doing a good job of getting that offhand on the football, protecting it, okay, and lowering his shoulder, where now you're at least able to run through that guy and break a tackle. All right, now talking about the dip and slip, this is more for making a guy miss when you're one-on-one with a guy, not as much so of trying to set a block up, making a guy go inside so you can go on the outside. Just working on here, whether this is front side or back side. I'm just a defender that's running way on the inside, and you're just trying to sink your shoulders in, dip in hard, and then slip back on the outside. Because some guys can do this really natural, some guys can't. I have one guy who can do this really well on this year's team. The other guys are kind of getting better at it. I had a guy at Elon who was really good at it. All right, it's a good dip right there, kind of coming through, just good dip and slip. I'll show you one clip of here. This is the guy who's really good at it. Running counter right here. My footwork was different at Elon. I didn't jab step. We also skip shuffle. But there's a good dip and slip on the free hitter, coming through the hole right there. That's all we're talking about. Just that good dip, just to get that guy to bite inside, and now you're out. So that's all we're trying to work on with that drill. One more of it right here. This is actually against JMU when I was still at Elon. Same thing, there's your corner, kind of the angle right there, right? You could probably spin off him or juke him or whatnot. It's a good job of just kind of dipping, slipping him, getting that guy to fall inside, and now you're out the gate. One more thing I want to show you here, and then we'll wrap it up. The last finisher here I want to show you, just kind of a run-through finisher. This is really for primarily for short yardage running or goal line running. And we're just emphasizing just accelerating through contact, whether it's a free hitter there or it's a pile of mush or whatnot. So I've done it with my butter stick where I throw it at their shoulders, kind of high, or maybe a little bit low where they kind of have to lower their shoulders, accelerate through. I've also used a pop-up for it as well. So here we're working on some goal line running. As we all know, in goal line running, there's always going to be at least one, sometimes two free hitters because everyone's in cover zero, low, within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. You're just simply just working, getting downhill. I'm just throwing the bag at them. It's a good job of lowering their shoulders, accelerating through contact. And I'm really trying to throw that bag at them so they have some kind of actual physical force that they kind of feel as they're running through the bag.
Coach got a question for you here.
Yep.
In some of the clips, your back's moved from the pistol to the gunner, switch sides pre-snap. Could you talk about game planning purposes of that and also the verbiage you use to communicate that?
Yeah. So a lot of it we do two things we do that for when we're moving around. Obviously, some defenses will set their front base off the back, right? And if we want the three technique to a certain side for whatever, we do with that. We'll move our guy. Some teams are a big blitz the back kind of team, so we'll move around for that as well. Sometimes we're simply just trying to hide what we're running. We might have been, the previous week, maybe we ran all of our outside zone from the gun. So, hey, this week we're going to move from the pistol to that position, or move from the right side to the left side, behind the quarterback, and simply move in there. So it's a matter of just trying to hide it, set the front where we want it, also try to mess up teams' blitzes. The other thing that we also use it for is a lot of times with the RPO game now, what happens a lot is they put that seventh defender away from the back. And there's some teams that we've played that if we move the back late, they're going to keep that seventh defender to that side. So now if I can move my running back late to my left side, I can now have my RPO, my quarterback can still have his eyes on that seventh defender instead of having to look away from where the back is. Going pretty serious. So now here again, just run through technique. We saw earlier just during the indie drill. Manager has a pop up. I have my butter stick, just working on accelerating through. And here's what I take great pride in, fellas. And I tell my guys this all the time: short yardage, goal line. You know what time it is. You know it's getting the ball. It is 99% time is going to be a run. Everybody in the world knows it. The stadium knows it. The other team knows it. We know it. And I want us to be 100% on it. So I developed that mindset with them, and they take great pride in it, knowing that they always know when it's 3rd and 1 or 2. They always know, obviously, when we're on the goal line or when it's 4th and 1 and 2. They take great pride in it, and they know that when it comes time to getting the first down in those times, I can't take a gamble, right? Whereas on first down, 1st and 10, I might tell them, look, you might try to take a gamble. If you thought you can get around the guy, run around him or whatnot, do it. If you're not going to get it, you'll get yelled at. If you get it, you'll get a pat on the back, right? But on short yardage, it's simply this: look, get the first down. That's number one. So trying to emphasize that here in the drill, having this, just adding this in there as well, and then having it show up in the game. I'll show you a couple clips here, and then
Coach, quick question for you.
Yeah.
What drill has helped your players the best for ball security?
Yeah. So there's 2 things. I have a stick that I've made with an old lacrosse stick, cut off the head, and I put a bunch of padding around it. I've used that in every drill. So a lot of times in Indy, I always have that stick with me 99% of the time. And I'm using that stick and I'm punching at the ball from all kinds of different angles. That's number one. And then we actually do twice a week, we do a ball security circuit where we have 3 different stations that we do. And I can show you the clips really quick. I have them on here. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So here's one of the drills there. If you guys can see that little stick I have, I know the video might be a little bit choppy. So I have that stick there. I use that in every drill where I'm just punching at that ball, kind of simulating a defender punching it with his fist. This is a post drill we do. Here's just a simple one-hand hop drill, wanting to keep the nose of the football nice and high. Where the guys are ripping at the ball. This is part of our ball security circuit, so this is the station I run. And we do this ball security circuit every day. It's 2 minutes. We break it up, 3 stations. It's receivers, the quarterbacks, and the running backs are together. The quarterbacks and the tight ends are together, and then the running backs are on their own. 3 stations there. So we do that drill. I have them just go 10 yards in that, then come back with the other hand, go 10 yards. And then one of the other drills we do is a double grip drill. Each guy has 2 balls in each hand. You have 1 guy on each side of you, and they're just simply just trying to punch it, rip at the ball. It's really forcing you to just really hold on to that ball in tight. It's a little bit unrealistic because a lot of times you should be able to get your second hand on the ball, but there are those times where you can't get your second offhand over that ball to cover it up. So you really just have to rely on your strength in your arm to be able to hold on to it. So those are some of the ball security things that we do. These 2 clips here, and then I'll take some questions, more questions. All right, again, it's just short yardage, right? Just working on just what we're talking about, the run through. You can see a good example there of him just accelerating his feet, getting forward, getting himself into the end zone. Another one here in the national championship game. It was a 3rd and 1 here, or 3rd and 2, excuse me. Understand we got to get the first down. It's just a matter of just being able to accelerate through contact and getting forward. So, those are some of the drills, the finishes I do. Like I said, I take great pride in that. In those second level finishers, I think they make a difference. They've made a big difference from year 1 to year 2 at Elon. I'm hoping they'll make a big difference again for us year 1 to year 2 here at JMU. Obviously, not having spring ball sucks, but we'll be able to get some work in throughout training camp. But again, being able to have a running back that can make the extra guy miss, and if you can do that consistently, number one, he'll have a chance to play at the next level, whether it's college or even beyond. But it's also going to maximize your explosive plays. And one of our team goals that Coach Signetti has for us is to win the battle of explosive plays. So obviously, with our job, for as much as we run the football, it's our job to produce as much as we can, and not being that guy that almost had an explosive play or almost took it to the house. Now, I had plenty of times throughout this year still we left yards in the field, and obviously we all do, working hard to try to minimize those. But I think that's that play polish period. We do it every single day for 5 to 6 minutes. I think that's one that you can really make a lot of gains with your tailbacks where you're doing some kind of live stuff instead of just having stationary targets where you're telling them run at that and make it miss, So I think the more you can do that, I think the more you help them out. And I'm sure some of it, you can also use that for receiver play. The quarterbacks, there's been a couple of times where I've done it with the quarterbacks during that period where Coach Montgomery, made it a pull for the quarterback, and I kind of gave them the thing as well. But some of the good work that we've done. So, any questions?
Yeah, here's a question for you, Coach. How often do you use a fullback, and what technique do you teach your lead blockers?
So we use a fullback depending on how you want to look at it. When we're in 11 personnel and the tight end's not on the ball, he's generally about a yard behind the tackle, off the ball, and a lot of times we call him a fullback. So really, we use him quite a bit. Now he's really a tight end body, but we use him, at the point of attack and in our power schemes, or a second puller and counter, or as a guy who kind of sets the edge on a pin and pull or whatnot. Now the second question about the technique, can you elaborate on that?
Let's see. I'm just waiting for the coach to respond back. Coach Anderson, can you just elaborate on what you mean by the technique being taught for the lead blockers? Leverage, head-and-hand placement.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's dependent on the play that we're running per se. As far as the leverage goes, like when we're running power, for instance, and he's trying to root out that 5 technique. He wants to be in inside-out leverage, getting his head on the inside with his hands on the inside of the breastplate of the defender. Our O-line coach spends a lot of time with the tight ends they have a pod period that they do with the tackles a lot of times, because a lot of our run games, we have a lot of doubles, and a lot of defense that we go against, we get a lot of double teams with our tight end and our tackles. So they spend a good amount of time on that. But I think the leverage is really just dependent on where the guy is and where are you trying to put the ball. Are you trying to get the ball to the outside? Then his leverage changes. Is it an inside run? His leverage changes.
Here's a recruiting question. What do you look for in recruiting a running back to your school? Like, what are the measurables you look for? What are the intangibles you look for?
I think the measurables at times can be blown out of proportion. I don't think there's one certain number, like Solomon Van Horst, number 42. He had, I think like 400 yards this year. he only weighs about 175, and he's like 5'7". And then number 21, our freshman tailback, he's 5'11", 232, and I have everything in between. The big thing for me is, can he play running back? I think the measurables kind of can get overlooked. Now, with that being said, if you're on the smaller side, like Solomon, you want to be a guy that can average over 6 yards a touch or be able to create a lot of explosive plays, because the reality is you're not going to get a lot of yards after contact just by virtue of your size. So speed for them, for the smaller guys, is important, being able to create explosive plays. For the bigger guys, how are you on contact? Can you make the free guy miss? Do you have good balance? Those are the kind of things I'm looking for there. Some of the intangibles, kind of fall in line with our core values. Obviously, I look at one thing I actually do pay attention to is how they carry the ball. Are they taught well now? Their ball security. The other thing I pay a lot of attention to is how are they when the ball is not in their hands. So a lot of times I'll go watch an old lineman's clip or quarterback's huddle highlight or whatnot to watch the running back when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. And is he a guy who's watching, the play, or is he a guy who's kind of running after it and trying to get himself a block for his teammates? And obviously the last thing kind of falls into line with the second level running. Is he a guy who just, when he gets into the open field, when he runs through that hole, is he a guy that can make a guy miss and take it the distance, or is he a guy who's always getting tackled by the first guy? And if he's a guy who's always getting tackled by the first guy, he's kind of down on my list. Now, again, I think you can develop it, for sure. But I think as I'm looking at running backs, I'm kind of separating the ones that I really like, the ones that I think need some work, is kind of based off those three things right there. What else do we have?
There was another question. How do you teach pass pro?
Yeah, I have a bunch of pass pro drills, which I can probably talk about on another time. But I do. So we don't practice Sundays. Mondays we have one indie period. On Tuesdays we have 3 indie periods. One of them is play polish with the quarterbacks, and then I always do the second indie period. I always do a bag drills with my guys, and then the third one's always pass pro. Wednesday is a third down day for us, so it's only pass pro, no bag drills. And then on Thursdays, it's a mix of both, because it's really our last day to be able to get some of that fundamental work in. But in our pass pro, I have some things that I teach that would probably be easier to show you with some film work. But I spend a lot of time on it. With the technique on it, really kind of differentiating between a bull rusher or a speed rusher, and how to know what technique to use for each.
Let me see. Yeah, coach, want to know if you switch the ball or have them keep it in the same hand.
Yeah. So, like I said, I used to be a big proponent of the ball has to be in this hand or this hand. Especially at the mesh. Now, a lot of times, again, a lot of times we can learn stuff from our kids. Some of my guys just said, Coach, sometimes I get the handoff and it just ends up in my right hand when it's supposed to be in the left. So I stopped preaching it at that point. However, once they get into the open field, close to the sideline, left or right, whatever, then they can switch the ball and get it into their outside hand. I never want them to switch the ball in traffic, because I've only seen bad things happen when you're trying to switch the ball now in traffic.
What do you teach for points of contact on the football for ball security? Do you claw the point or point your finger on the nose of the football?
I like having the claw on the football. I just think you have more control of it. But essentially, just claw the football, get your wrist above your elbow, ball against the body, okay, and then lock your elbow, which means that your elbow is not going to, or your forearm is not going to come down. I really just teach those 4 things. That way the ball is always nice, high and tight, right underneath their chin.
Anybody else have any questions for Coach? I think we're good, Coach.
I appreciate it, guys. Like I said, my Twitter is on there. Give me a follow, my email. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to reach out. Always love talking ball. Except if there's anything I can do for anybody, don't hesitate to reach out. Appreciate you guys for listening.
Yeah, we appreciate Coach coming by. We're probably going to get him back on next week. We had talked about it. So It'll be another great presentation just like this one. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Just like the other ones, man, if y'all want to drop your Twitter handles in here so we can stay connected as coaches and continue to push each other, man, feel free. I'll leave this up for just a minute or two, and we can follow each other. So, but coaches, information's on there, man. Don't hesitate to reach out to him, man. He's got a wealth of knowledge. Obviously, his presentation was on point, so we appreciate him being there. A coach asked, "Is there any way to get this presentation?"
Yeah, I should be able to send that over. Just Justin, what's the best way to get that done?
You want me to you probably send it to me, and then you want to do that, and then I can kind of get it out to them, via email or something?
Yeah. If anybody wants the presentation, just why don't you guys shoot me an email, and then I can try to get it to you guys that way.